Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Nonary Games, the first Nonary Game 999. So, in almost 3 hours, we've done a lot of novel stuff. I'm moving fairly slow, rather slow in the story. I'm enjoying the story, so that's fine by me. But this definitely shows that we are seeing a 2-to-1 ratio at minimum of novel sections versus escape the room puzzle sections. We just saw that number 9, the person with bracelet number 9, had a plan which involved him trying to run away and escape and cheat the system and not follow the rules, and so he blew himself up. And June is the new name for the girl, number 6. I think I'll probably refer to everybody as number 6. You can see through the text in the bottom middle of the screen, number 6 on her wrist, assuming it's not upside down. If that was the case, then she would be number 9, and then the door that should have opened wouldn't have worked, because 4 plus 1 plus 6 would only be 11, which would be 2, which wouldn't have opened the number 5 door. So yeah, we just all saw bloody walls, the aftermath of number 9 being blown up, and June, even though she's being depicted here more looking like she is blushing from being like embarrassed slash romantically interested with the main player character on the right, Junpei. Junpei named number 6 June. That's not her real name. Her real name, I believe, was Akane. But they're saying this is a fever, which might be a revelation that everybody is still under the influences of some kind of drug that was used on them when they were brought here. Either that or these art assets of these characters are not actually original characters, and this it was an original depiction of her blushing more than anything else instead of having a fever. Like, I feel like it's weird for her to faint and have a fever on top of just fainting after seeing blood and seeing a huge grotesque mess. I suppose there was something else I wanted to mention, and let's see for a second if I can think about it. Yes, there's some weirdness going on with the costumes of these characters. Apparently nobody is going to comment on that. Like, everybody seems to be dressed up in weird ways. Maybe this is what they were wearing. But then Zero, our bad guy, clearly went through our pockets because he put instructions in our pockets, but then he didn't seem to remove the knife that number 9 had and used as a coercion used to coerce other people to open the door for him. So why number 9 would be allowed a knife where seemingly everybody else's pockets have been cleaned out of anything useful is a little weird. But it does seem like there was some special trickery in particular with number 9. If anything, I'd guess maybe that Zero slash our Jigsaw killer equivalent in this game wanted the number 9 character to die to just raise the stakes and show people that cheating will not be tolerated. In a story like this, you kind of have to show somebody dying. In some of the Saw movies, they show, like, there's a reverse bear trap that gets used in a lot of the Saw movies, and they show that on a dummy head to prove that it will rip open the skull and jaw of someone if they can't escape. Alright, let's move with the story. June is just going to make another sound. Feels like you should go parentheses and then either be descriptive and say anguished sigh, anguished gush, not just dot dot dot, or at least make a sigh sound.
Okay, let's just rest for a minute, okay? You think you can walk?
She didn't say anything. And I kind of wonder in the Japanese language if there would have been some subtle single word mentioned there.
How are you feeling?
So we're on to another scene, and now she's covering her face. One would almost assume crying after saying such a grotesque scene.
Why did this happen?
And of course in this scene you don't have to animate her face if she's covering it up, which is easier on the animators.
Why did this happen?
Do any of you know what the fuck is going on here?
Like, a good question to ask, perhaps be a bit more gentle here. I would recommend in these jigsaw murder puzzles and traps, you should probably walk on eggshells and keep everybody on your side. We just saw the consequences of someone trying to go it alone or be aggressive and violent and forceful.
Who's Zero? What's this Nonary game? Come on! Anybody? Anything? What the hell is going on? What are we doing here?
There's not a lot to take from these lines of dialogue. They're realistic, reasonable responses, certainly, but they're not going to be hints to the solution. Seems like
10 o'clock then.
we now have 8 hours left and 8 people left.
That means it's been an hour since Zero's little announcement.
They have changed the names
Enough of this crap!
to the code names.
How long are we gonna pussyfoot around like this?
Now, it's a little hard to remember, in not knowing Japanese to heart, that Santa is number 3, as in Ichi-ni-san, the third number in Japanese.
We've only got 8 hours until this time limit Zero is going on about is up.
I guess that also proves that every character in this world at least speaks Japanese, and you can probably easily assume that they are all Japanese, even though they all look very wildly different.
Let's get going already! Go! Go!
No, I refuse. I'm not gonna end up like him.
So Lotus is very logical, but I think she's depicting herself particularly as just too passive, too unwilling to move forward. So we may very well find in the story that we can't take her. And the last decision that we made, pretty much the only decision we made in the last recording, was just deciding who we were going to get to open the door with us. And that decision seems to have played no role, because all we did was open the door, look inside, and then let the door close on us again. So unless that decision has some long-lasting effects where the 3 people, including myself, cannot open any of the other doors, we're going to seemingly have a decent amount of experience. If you look at the flow, which we can just look at here, it seems like we're going to make a different decision and then split up and then just merge back together as a group.
Him? You mean the 9th man?
Of course, who else?
It almost makes sense that nobody would want to go through the hallway of door number 5 with all the blood now.
Blood. Oh. Blood and pieces of flesh.
Now, again, a Japanese game doesn't like to show dismemberment or gore and body parts. So this image is just a bunch of blood, even though they're mentioning pieces of flesh. That's not what they're showing.
That's no way for a person to die.
No confirmation here that it was the bracelet that exploded, but one assumes.
I think he just screwed up.
I'd like for each of these bracelets to be more front and center and highlighted in every single depiction of these characters. So it would be fine with me on top of the bracelets if he had just like painted numbers on the foreheads of each of the characters, or they had kind of a more lapel type device attached to their lapel / shirt. I guess if it was on the shirt, it'd be harder to take. It'd be easy to take off then. Or if they had like a necklace around their necks that had a number, that would be the easiest way to do this. Is don't do bracelets, do necklace. It almost feels like they were trying to merchandise these bracelets slash smartwatches for some reason, and this game was never going to be that popular that people would want to walk around with murder game bracelets around their wrist.
He probably set off some sort of trap and that killed him. I'm not gonna screw up like that. I'm getting out of here alive.
Here we can see he's bold, kind of the opposite of Lotus. He wants to move forward, but he's probably not going to think things through enough, where Lotus wants to overthink things through and never move forward. So Santa and Lotus would be basically opposites in some way, and they probably wouldn't make a good team. Now Snake is creepily laughing.
What's so goddamn funny?
Let's just keep through the dialogue, because there's probably going to be a lot of this.
Oh, my apologies. You were just so very confident. I couldn't help myself.
What the fuck?
I think Santa as a character probably needs to be eliminated, because he's just going to constantly throw in a lot of cussing when it's gonna get tired eventually.
Huh? The ninth man's death. It had nothing to do with the trap, or at least not the sort of trap you imagine it did. Then he broke one of Zero's rules. That was why he died. Quite simple if you think about it. Huh? You still don't. All right. How about you take a moment and think back to what Zero said?
And see, this is what's funny about a lot of these Saw and murder trap things are. There's a lot more logic and a lot more thinking and a lot more talking than actual physicality. And if that's one thing I would criticize for the Jigsaw series, as it were, is that the first movie was a lot of talking and just two people trapped in one room, where later sequels to that series, it's just tons of action. You enter a room, you have an action scene, you leave the room, you enter another room, you have another action scene, and it just became more and more action and less thinking. I think a Japanese mentality on this is appreciable, because it will be more about the logic and the thinking and less about the action. Particularly a game like this where there's almost no actual interaction or controls. Like, if you were playing this originally on the DS, you basically have no reason to need the D-pad or any of the face buttons. You would just be touching the touchscreen with a stylus, and that was a big selling point for the DS originally. But in retrospect, particularly when trying to port games like this to future consoles that don't have touchscreens, it wasn't a ability that was ever implemented particularly well, and most DS games just used it as a menu selection, quick item selection, or a map display.
Specifically, what did he say about the number of people?
He said only 3 to 5 people can pass through one numbered door, right?
And after that? You've forgotten the relevant part. What did Zero say?
Interesting. Greater than. Zero said ... lesser than. It feels like there should be square brackets. Oh, I guess this is my choice. Let's see. It said, so my first decision in 15 minutes, maybe my only decision, that everyone who verified had to go is the right answer. And I guess if I got the wrong answer, this might affect the ending, but that would be really crazy if it did.
All those who enter must leave, and all who enter must contribute, right?
So, all those who enter must contribute might be a indication that once they get through the first doors, if somebody just refuses to cooperate and contribute on the puzzle, they might get blown up also. Although it would be kind of hard to blow up one person without potentially blowing up the people next to them. So we have to assume that these smart bracelets are specifically very small radius explosions. It also, reading this again, implies that my thought of potentially 5 people entering a room and then finding another number door, and then potentially one of the 5 people being killed or eliminated, so then 4 people would contribute to unlock a different door, and then one person being killed or eliminated somehow, so only then 3 people contribute. That may still be the case, but it seems like the rules are kind of countering that thought, because it means that it doesn't seem like if 5 people went through door number 5 and then they found that there was a different door past door number 5, that then 4 people could go forward and 1 would have to stay behind, because then 1 person would not be contributing.
I think it was something like that. Whatever it was, it means that groups of less than 3 or more than 5 can't go through.
That is correct. A gold star for you, Junpei. The 9th man, however, broke that rule. He tried to pass through a numbered door by himself. That was why he was executed.
Again, very Japanese. Everybody has to work together as a group.
Zero's watching us from somewhere, making sure we don't break any rules.
Oh, I'm not so sure of that.
Why not?
Because this execution system is entirely automatic. You didn't notice? There's no need for him to monitor us.
Yeah. I don't know how much it changes the story if he's watching or not. Mountain on the left seems like he really is concerned about that. But whether it's automatic or not, I don't. And until we know more about why we were put in this group and why we were selected, and if we don't ever find that out, then you just really won't know how important it is for Zero to be monitoring us. I assume he is, because why not?
What do you mean?
Very well. I see it must be me who tells you.
Snake, probably not the person that needs to explain this. This would be a good point, I think, to jump over to Ace and have him explain some too. But I guess they wanted to give Snake some more lines of dialogue, or the voice actor who played Snake some more lines of dialogue. I imagine in a game like this you might try to break down every single sentence so everybody gets similar amounts of sentences.
I've waited long enough, I suppose. I had hoped Zero might spare me the trouble, but
apparently Snake is a little obnoxious.
that seems increasingly unlikely.
Do you know something?
Well, I know a great many things, but yes.
What is it you know?
Here.
A card? What does it say?
So is the card in Braille? Because he's blind, remember?
See for yourself.
Come on now, what's the point of giving me this?
Give me that. Huh? The hell is this?
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Japanese people don't even know what Braille is. Japanese tend to isolate and not really accommodate disabled people very well, because they're different, and Japanese are all about we're all the same.
This is Braille. Sorry, guys. I can't read this. Here, have it back.
Okay, that was fun. What's so important about that card?
It tells you a couple of things. Like A, they knew Snake was blind, and B, Zero didn't care that Snake was blind, and even was willing to spend the extra effort to translate something into Braille and find a Braille printer to print the embossed raised dots.
I found it in my pocket.
Hmm.
I can only assume it is a message from Zero.
From Zero?
A message?
What does it say?
Now, it'd be funny if it says something different.
Calm down now. No need to panic. You don't need to force me. I'll read it. Bracelet number 2.
So everybody may have different things in their pockets.
Since you are not blessed with sight, I shall bless you and only you with information. I shall tell you of the function of the red, of the dead, and of the bracelet.
See, what would be funny is if he's just making all of this up, and it doesn't say anything different than the other letter.
The red is the recognition device. It will verify your number. Beside every numbered door, you will find a red.
Of course, he's blind, so him even finding a door, let alone a device next to a door, is still quite difficult.
The dead is the deactivation device.
Now they're just getting poetic.
It does exactly what it says. Once you have passed through the numbered door, you must use the dead to stop the detonator in your bracelet.
So there's some other scanner that you have to use on the other side.
But perhaps you are wondering, what does this detonator detonate? I'm afraid this might be something of surprise.
Again, we're getting a bad choice here on how they recorded this voice.
I have placed a small bomb inside of you and people who you are about to meet.
So the bomb is not on the wrist, it's just inside the people.
You swallowed it while you were unconscious. I have no doubt, by the time you read this note, the bomb will have passed your stomach and found its way to your small intestine.
Okay.
In other words, you will be unable to regurgitate it. I suggest you do not try. As I mentioned before, the bracelet on your left hand contains a detonator. Think of it as a remote fuse, or timer, for the bomb in your body. There is only one condition which will cause it to detonate.
Okay, only one condition, that's good.
That condition is that you enter a numbered door.
That's bad.
Once you have done so, the timer will activate, no matter who you may be.
So if you push somebody through a door that didn't open the door, it'll still activate.
You will have 81 seconds.
81 seconds adds up to 9. So that's probably why they picked that number instead of just a round minute.
If, after that time, the detonator has not been deactivated, it will send a signal to the bomb in your body, instructing it to explode. In order to deactivate the detonator, every person who verified their number at the red must also verify their numbers at the dead.
Okay, so let's think this through for a second. So 3 people opened the door, and then the remaining 8 people ran, and all 8 went through, and then 3 people then went to the deactivator. Then only those 3 people would be safe, and the bomb would explode on the remaining 5 people. Well, this does definitely feel like you're going to run into scenarios where there might be an odd man out.
Once all numbers have been verified by the dead, you
It's kind of funny that you need to pull the lever. Like, that just seems like extra work. But I guess for a puzzle reason, you don't want people to try and brute force it and just scan numbers on top of scanning other numbers on top of scanning other numbers. Not like the solution here is that hard. You definitely could have made this much more of a game if they had made you pay attention more to the dialogue and then answer a specific question on the door instead of a number. If it said, how many chairs are in this room, or how many flowers are on a painting, something like that, and then you had to look around and figure out that solution and put in a number based on that instead of the same math puzzle over and over again. But even at that, where there's so little gameplay in this, we may do the same math puzzle only 4 or 5 times in the whole game. Yeah, this is also kind of the problem with a lot of these system style stories where you've established a system, much like the Death Note anime is a great example. They establish rules, and then they just keep on having to add more rules and explain away rules, because there's always going to be a scenario where somebody can think of something different that the writers hadn't thought of. So we're probably going to get a little too much dialogue explaining things away, so that the player doesn't feel like they have a better solution than what we will see in the actual story. And in the scenario that actually happened, he probably could have gone and scanned the deactivator, but the deactivator probably needed all 3 to deactivate the one detonator that was on number 9's wrist. So number 9 used 3 people's watches to open the door. He walked through the door, which only activated his watch, and then he needed the other 2 people that didn't walk through the door to also touch the deactivator to then deactivate all 3 of their watches, which would have been the case because the other 2 would have walked through the door and theirs would have activated also. But since they didn't walk through the door, they were safe. So in theory, if you want to kill anybody, you just have to push them through the door and let the door slam on them.
You must also keep in mind that numbered doors will close automatically after 9 seconds have passed.
That feels like information that should have been given a little bit more freely, because 9 seconds is different than 2 seconds is different than 30 seconds.
So long as the door is open, the dead will not function. You would do well to remember this.
So if you try to force the door open or hold them open, there's still not really much of a solution there.
Lastly, let's discuss how to remove the bracelets.
I don't know how important it is to remove the bracelets versus just escaping first.
There are only 2 ways to do so.
Maybe we can get number 9's bracelet back.
1. You escape from this ship.
That seemed like that was the obvious way.
2. Your heart rate reaches 0.
Well, depending on how long you have to keep your heart rate at 0, that is somewhat doable. It's risky, but yeah, you could certainly get it to briefly hit 0 for a second or 2, but if it requires several minutes of it being at 0, then that's not reasonable.
In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, Well, it depends that if Nary's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically.
There you have a line that sometimes happens in Japanese translated stories where they just say the same thing twice. Although I've certainly seen that in Western stories too, and I've been guilty of doing it myself, where I'll just say something and then have a mini mental blockage and say the exact same thing slightly different a second time.
There is no other way to remove your bracelet.
You can't just chop off your hand? Or break your thumb?
If you attempt to force it off or disable the detonator, the bomb within you will immediately explode.
Okay. So I guess since this is a Japanese game in particular, we're not going to have any of the Jigsaw occurrences like in the Jigsaw movies or the Saw movies where people lose limbs but still are alive for a while, because that would be gory, and gore is not allowed really in Japanese games. Not in at least the version of Japanese games that are sold in Japan. And clearly this would have been a game that would have been first and foremost designed for a Japanese audience.
This is all the information which I can impart to you. How you choose to use it is for you to decide. If used wisely, you can eliminate those who might be a danger to you. For a time, you would be able to control your fate. I wish you the best of luck.
So it's saying only those who verify their numbers at the red can pass through the numbered doors. Teams can't add or subtract people after they're scanned in.
Yep.
The reds, deads, and bracelets enforce the rules. They're judge, jury, and executioner.
Yep. One assumes that the sequel games in this probably don't have this much build up and setup of the rules. And it probably will be the same rules in the other two games. So then I imagine things will move faster in the sequels. Okay, that's a weird sound, but at least they typed it properly and it wasn't just ...
Shit! A fucking bomb! Come out! Come out, damn it!
So they're both trying to vomit.
There's a bomb inside me. Oh. What made Zero think creating this horror show of a game was a good idea? Alright, I'm gonna ask one more time.
Do any of you know anything about Zero?
And it's just gonna flash to everybody.
Actually, I saw him. I saw Zero when I got grabbed. I didn't see his face, though.
Yeah, and we saw him too when we got grabbed.
He was wearing some kind of gas mask.
Are we supposed to be looking for reactions there?
Come on, guys, give me something. You know, like surprise or something.
I saw that too.
I did as well.
Me too. I didn't see inside the mask, though.
Be funny if
Mask! It was really scary.
if Zero turned out to be like a robot or not a human at all.
Oh, so all of our abductions were the same. We were taken from home at midnight. The person claiming to be Zero had a mask on. There was white smoke, and then each of us passed out. We woke up to find ourselves on D-Deck, in a room with a 3-level bunk bed.
I don't know if everybody woke up and found themselves in a room on D-Deck, because that would be the implication that all 8 of the other people woke up way before me and went all the way to A-Deck and then worked their way back down. That'd be a little weird. It also opens up the door that there could have been other people still on D-Deck that drowned.
How about you, Seven? Did the same happen to you?
Oh, me? Yeah, well, mine was just like the rest of yours.
That's a little weird. He's a big guy to be dragging around.
Okay, that's good enough for now. So, I have a question. Snake and Clover, you were both kidnapped from the same room, and you woke up together.
Is that true? So, are these two related?
So, what's the deal with the two of you anyway?
That seems like a logical jump. I don't recall the story saying that.
We're siblings.
Siblings, okay. So you have a very, very older brother, I guess?
Siblings?
Yes.
Here you'll have the standard anime twist. She's like 2 years older than he is.
Snake is my older brother, obviously. That means I'm his little sister.
And she didn't bother to mention that he was blind, nor is she capable of reading Braille or recognizing Braille.
That really so hard to understand?
She is correct, of course.
Yeah, it feels like Snake should have been drawn a little bit shorter if you're gonna try and convince me that they're not a good 10 years apart.
Are you, surprised?
This almost feels like there will be a subplot that's revealed that he's like an old salary man and he was paying her to be like an underage prostitute type character to be his girlfriend, which probably happens a lot with disabled people, frankly, is that they end up hiring prostitutes. But that is just wild speculation at this point. That would be a good cover to say they're siblings. I mean, what else could you say if you were both in the same room? Other than you could say she was a intern in-home caretaker for him, or assistant, that he pays to like get groceries and such.
Well,
but
yeah,
you were kidnapped at midnight, they said, so they were both in the same room at midnight? That's a little weird.
Why? There are other people here with connections to one another.
Yeah. It'd be a little weird depicting, assuming their ages. Like, that is getting into the Oni-chan brother-sister incest theory a little too close to that.
Those two, for instance.
Oh, you mean between Jumpy and me?
Yeah, I don't think Japanese brothers and sisters tend to stay in the same room at those ages and sleep in the same room, although there is a shortage of square footage in many Japanese houses, so it might happen a lot more than I would guess.
Ah, yes. You did say you were childhood friends, didn't you?
Well, if there were 9 characters, let's just make an assumption here and assume that there's supposed to be 4 pairs and 1 odd man out. I guess that might be the case. But we'd have to see if the story really is going to go in that direction.
Wait, you went to school together?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hey, you think maybe we could figure out who Zero is this way?
Yeah, you're right.
It'd be fairly helpful if you knew what school they went to. Tokyo, if they went to school in Tokyo, is a very big place, and there's lots of neighborhoods, lots of counties. If they went to school outside of Tokyo, then most of those cities are pretty small and would have very few people as far as population density.
You connect the dots between the victims, and that leads you to the perp. Textbook stuff.
It'd be funny if 7 turned out to actually be like an undercover cop instead of looking like a gangster.
Junpei, June, does any of this ring a bell?
Ring a bell.
Personally, I'd be asking dancers, like, why are you wearing this outfit? Did Zero put you in this outfit? Would you like to borrow a scarf at least from June? Or my coat?
Ring a bell? Well, perhaps you went to school with the son of a multimillionaire.
A millionaire?
Son?
Well, someone bought this boat and set up all of this. Whoever Zero is, they must be incredibly rich.
That's a decent deduction, unless he's working for somebody incredibly rich.
Well, we can't be sure of that.
Here you have Ace gesturing generically with June just being kind of cut and pasted on top of that. Although there was some poor placement there, because that makes it look like Ace is just oddly touching the small of June's back for no reason.
To me, this seems as though it's the work of an organization, not an individual.
I think you're 50-50 on that, really. I don't think there's any evidence one way or the other yet.
Most likely, Zero is simply the representative of a larger group.
What sort of organization?
It also could be that Zero is just magical, or this whole scenario is magical, and it doesn't require actually power or money to do this. This could all just be a dream.
It could be a number of things. An army, perhaps, or a research group. Perhaps this is all some sort of psychological experiment.
If it is, then it's a pretty fucked up experiment. I mean, come on! A guy's dead! I don't know who the hell this Zero asshole is, but I know for sure he's gotta be pretty fucked up in the head to do all this.
Seems like they are gonna flash to the bloody walls a little bit more to just try to maintain the tension. Of course, the problem with stories like this, and this is probably why I like to watch horror movies and bloody entertainment, is that there's a very thick line in my mind between fiction and reality, so I never get wrapped up into blood and violence in video games or otherwise, and so it's pretty easy just to dismiss any blood you see in a video game or in a movie as being what it is, fake blood, stage blood, and not having any real relation to reality. I don't put myself that much into the role of the main player or the main character of a story, so it's thus a little harder to relate and feel the tension that the story and the creators of the games and movies are trying to create.
If this was all one guy, then he's got some serious issues.
And it looks like by default they'll just be calling everybody a guy. Calling Zero a guy. Another 30 minutes.
We were finished with that topic.
But then what should we do?
They're moving extremely slow as far as actually playing the game.
We should talk it through.
Just a lot of talking.
Oh my god, enough! All we're doing is talking!
I'm with Santa here. In this case, it's just way too much talking. They need to make a decision. They need to move forward. Just to change the scenery then would be good prompters for more dialogue later.
Talking won't solve anything. It can't help us find our way out of here.
The slight animation there.
Really sure?
Slight movement.
Just sit around.
Like, I think almost every scene has the characters blinking and their lips moving, but when their arms start to move, it feels a little extra, a little different.
We already wasted an hour and a half of our 9 hours.
You're right.
So yeah, when you look at Lotus and she's just not moving her arms at all, and Santa when he's not moving his arms at all, it really feels like just the faces are being animated.
Very well then. There's only one way for us to proceed.
So I would have probably, if I was the director of this game, it would be really bad, a waste of animation, but I probably would take the animation away of the arms and just have the heads and faces and the mouths move.
Sure not gonna be fun running around knowing we gotta jump when Zero says jump.
Well, it's stupid to just sit around here doing nothing.
One assumes that Clover's ear headphones, earmuffs, or just earmuffs, and or like a hairband, and they aren't music just that's being played into her ears or giving her hints or something. Although they might be headphones, and that might be that she is Zero and she's secretly listening in through like the bracelets.
Thanks to Snake's card, at least we have some idea of how this all works.
Correct. And so long as we all follow the rules, we will most likely be all right.
But
But what?
who's going to go in which door?
Now, they didn't get any other bits of information about a lot of those people. Like, we did not get Ace to say anything. We did not get Lotus to say anything. We did not get Mountain to say anything. We did not get Santa to say anything. So that left us with 4 characters that we know nothing about. And then we know about Clover and Snake and June and Junpei, which it leaves us 4 characters we do know something about. So they've split it very much in the middle. And then, of course, the 9th person we don't know anything about other than he had a knife and he tried to cheat.
Oh yeah, that's right. We can't have any more than 5 people in one door.
So apparently, maybe there's only 2 doors in this room. I was all up until this point just assuming that there were other doors that had like 3, 2, 1, 6, 7, 8. But if there's only 2 doors, that would certainly line up with the flow point. Certainly, if so, we'll have to do some math here, I guess.
All 8 of us can't go in the same door.
Then it would seem we will have to split up.
So there's 2 solutions, and I don't know if it's really going to make me choose really and be interactive, or if it's just going to give 2 options. Where one group is going to go 4 and one group is going to go through 5, and the decision will come down to me deciding whether I want to go left or right, which means the number 5 will be added or removed from the other groups. And so we may have to do the math to make sure that both groups can make it through both doors, or one group can make it through both doors.
I'm telling you now, there is no way in hell that I'm going into door 5.
That solves something fairly easily, and I'm okay with that. Lotus is going to go through door 4. And I'd try to split up Ace if I could and send him through door 5. I'd probably try to send June through door 4, but maybe I won't get a choice on that. And I mean, if you're going to send Lotus and June, you almost by default then see a pattern and say just send Clover too, so all the girls go on one side and all the guys go on the other side. Yeah, that probably won't be the choice that you can make though, because that would really ruin the point of having a female character that could give a female perspective on the story. So you're going to have to pick somebody willing to go through a bloody room, and that pretty much means Clover has to go through door 5 because June fainted at the sight of blood. I don't think she's going to all of a sudden volunteer to go through door 5.
Come on now, don't be selfish.
Is that what Lotus is as a character? Is that she's selfish?
Call me whatever the hell you want. I'm not going in there.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to really pin her down as selfish in this scenario. I wouldn't immediately jump to that assumption. It's a little selfish to want to protect yourself and not care about the rest of the group, but like, it's not unreasonable in my book to be selfish when you're trying to stay alive. And frankly, if she's going to be freaking out and throwing a fit because she's going through door 5, she's going to be less helpful in the puzzles anyways.
If I'm going to have to walk through all that blood, then I'd rather stay here.
And we were doing so well.
Sorry, but I ain't going in there either. Someone else can go into door 5.
So then that leaves, so 8 and 3, that gives you 11. So that means number 2, Snake Eyes, is going with them. Or we send a larger group than 3 people through door 4, and we take the smaller group through door 5, which maybe is the right move. Like, just to keep people happy. Maybe the fewer people having to wander through a bloody door, the better. Now, if Ace is willing to go through door 5 and I'm willing to go through door 5, that would be 6, so we would need 9. So we would need 4 people to go through, minimum.
Oh, Santa, not you too.
Hey man, I just bought these shoes. If you think I'm getting some creepy dude's blood all over him, you got another thing coming.
Now, the thing, though, is we need to grab the number 9 bracelet, I think. Which would then potentially change the options later.
What the hell, man?
And we probably will just automatically do that.
Weren't you the one who kept saying we should get going? Yeah, so? Doesn't mean I wanted to go into door 5.
Would there be a way for 2 teams to go through door 4 and just, I mean, it seems like it would work.
Oh, God.
It seems like if you could get the numbers balanced right, you could have one group go through door 4, deactivate it, and then once they leave that room into the next section, then a second group could go through it. You might want to do that and say give them 5 minutes to see if they can escape or see if they explode. But that would be a slight waste of time, and you still wouldn't be able to get the number 9 bracelet, which I think you need. Like, there's possibly some logic as to why the bracelets are not directly the bombs here, because it would have been a lot easier to just say the bracelets themselves were the bombs and they explode. But clearly you still need them even if the person died.
Fine, I'll go into door 5.
So 7 will go through door 5.
Can't go in there alone though. Anyone else willing to come with me?
I'll go.
Okay, so 7 and 2 is 9, so they need a 6.
Don't worry, you'll be fine.
This would have been better if they started to put the smaller images of the characters on the sides of the screen and just said, like, this person is going group A, this person's going group B as they're talking, so we can just keep this all in our head a little bit easier. Now, it would be funny here if it turned out that Clover is the more helpless one and Snake is the more competent sibling.
We may part now, but I'm certain we'll meet again later.
It's not unheard of when visiting the country spas of Japan for co-ed sleeping on different tatami mats on the ground next to each other. So, but I would think they would have separate rooms in their own house. Again, though, Japanese houses, particularly small.
How do you know that?
Because I do.
That's not an answer.
There you go. You have another arm movement, and Clover does play off as fairly young. I imagine they probably went through a few conversations about just how young they wanted Clover to be, because you're putting a child, or at least a young person, in mortal danger, which is slightly more offensive in a fictional story than putting a adult in mortal danger, like an 18-year-old compared to a 16-year-old. Even there's a pretty different reaction by most people.
If you're going, I'm going too. I'm going into door 5.
So that leaves 4 people. So it was 9 before. 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 plus 2 is 15, which makes the number 6, which means it won't work. Because you would need 9 for that 5th person. And so that's not going to work.
What am I going to do with you?
There's nothing you have to do. If I join you, the problem is solved, correct?
If the 3 of them went, so you had 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus... No, I don't think the math is working out here.
7 is 7 and Snake is 2.
I must have not caught who was going where. This is getting really confusing and complicated, and this is like the only gameplay that's going on here. 7 is 7, and Snake is 2, which is 9, and Ace is 1, which is 10, which doesn't get you to 5, it gets you to 1.
And if you add Clover's 4 and my 1, the digital root will be 5.
Yeah, I guess that works. But then that's the maximum of 5 people all going through the blood room and me not going through the room. So are we gonna jump and start playing as a different character? Like, looking at the characters, I could only imagine going from Junpei to Ace or Dancer or Lotus, and then if there was only after that maybe Santa or Prince or Mountain, but only if you eliminate the first 3 leader type characters.
7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 1 is 14.
That's 4 people equaling 5, and there's no way to add anybody else.
The digital root of 14. 1 plus 4 is 5.
Oh, it works perfectly.
There's another odd animation there, with just her opening her eyes like once and then closing it and then waiting quite a while. It seems almost like she's blinking at random.
The 4 of us can go into door 5.
Wait. What about the other 4? What's their digital root gonna be?
Lotus, Santa, June, and me.
Would be 7 plus 3 plus 6. So that's 16 plus 5. Should be 21. Should be 3.
Our bracelet numbers are 8, 3, 6, and 5.
Nope, I think I counted wrong. Yeah. 8 plus 3 would be 11, which would be plus 6 would be 17, plus 5 would be 22, which would be 4.
8, 3, 6, 5. What would our digital root be?
Let's see. It's odd that it's even asking. It's also odd that this game feels a lot like it's trying to be almost an educational game, because like even to a Japanese audience, I don't think you would hand this to a middle schooler and say play this game to learn math, and you'd be doing such a small number of problems that it wouldn't be worth the time. Let's just count it again. 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 6 is 17, plus 5 is 22. Add the 2 to the 2, you have 4. Yes, it is 4.
8 plus 3 plus 6 plus 5 is 22. So, the digital root of 22, 2 plus 2 equals 4.
And I don't see how these options change anything. Like, would change the outcome.
It's 4. Add up our 4 bracelet numbers and the digital root is 4.
Then we can go into door 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. That worked out well.
I don't think it just worked out. I think the fact that 5 and 4 equal 9 probably could be mathematically proven that every combination would have that there will always be a combination that works that way. I don't know how you'd mathematically prove that, but you could probably just have a calculator try every single combination, and a computer would probably take an hour at most to figure that out. Probably a lot less.
So the team assignments will be like this. 7, Snake, Clover, and Ace. They would go through door 5.
Okay.
Lotus, Santa, June, and me will go through door 4.
This really doesn't feel like a video game, though, because it doesn't feel like you have any opportunity to make a decision at a crucial point.
Are these really the teams I want? Beyond door 5 is what remains of the 9th man.
I don't think Junpei is going to get a choice here. Like, in an odd way for a video game to play, the main character that we're playing as, Junpei, is not really being treated like a leader or the main character, and he's not really being given a choice. Each of these individual people seem to have decided on their own, so at that point you just probably need to go along with it, unless you're willing to raise a stink and say, I'm not willing to go through door 4.
I never want to see that thing again, but something's telling me that it'd be a good idea to examine the corpse, even just a little closer.
Junpei is just going to have to tell Ace to examine the corpse closely and get the bracelet.
Of course, if I went through door 5, I wouldn't be going with Lotus and Santa.
And if I went through door 5, also, how could I would have to pretty much eliminate 2 other people, and I don't know what the combination would be to do that and still end up with a digital root that works for both teams.
I could bring June with me through door 5, but that means she'd have to see the body in there. I don't want to put her through that.
You could also split up and not be immediately codependent with your elementary school friends that you just re-met.
Should I stay silent and go through door 4? Or should I stop them and insist on door 5?
All right then.
I think we play passive this time. The right move here would just be to say, Ace, make sure you get the watch off of number 9 and search his body for any other clues.
It seems we've reached a conclusion. Shall we go? I'm going through door 5.
You're just so overpowered here. You've got at least 4 people out of the group that are firmly solid on what door they want to go through. So the idea that the main character could convince them to change is kind of ridiculous.
The door's not going anywhere. Slow down.
Which door?
Let's see. So now would be the time to save, and now is the point when the game won't let me do it. So that's slightly annoying. Door 4 will be fine. Since you see the flow, and I don't think in the original version of this game there was a flow menu, you kind of know it doesn't matter. And it wouldn't be insane to think that there's a chance that once you get through these hallways, you can just kind of double back and search from the other side of the doors. But yeah, let's just do it passively this time, and this would be the split you would make at first. It is effectively 4 hours into the gameplay, so if there isn't an easy way to rewind to this point, that's makes it very unlikely people would want to play this multiple times. It also, I suppose, is a consideration as far as, does your decision here really affect anything at all later on as far as the ending of the game, or does it only really just serve as your first major decision as kind of a tutorial practice decision?
I'll go through door 4 with Lotus, Santa, and June.
Which keeps June and Lotus around, and Santa's alright.
There's nothing to worry about. I just need to stay by her side.
Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely a danger here of forgetting that this is a jigsaw murder puzzle and think that this is just a standard visual novel romance. The way they've got her hair is weird too. It's all entangled in her scarf. Typically people with long hair would put a scarf on and then pull their hair back and pull any hair out of the scarf. So it would be falling on top of the scarf or towards the back. I don't think I've ever seen anybody put a scarf on and then wrap it around their hair, because that means every time they would tilt their head, they probably would yank their hair, and nobody wants that.
This should be fine. It's no problem this way. I should see the other 4 off.
Looks like Ace and the others are going.
It'd be interesting to see if maybe opening the doors at the same time might do something. That feels like a very Myst-like trick that you could try. Everybody pull the handle on the count of 3 to see if it short circuits the system or something.
Goodbye.
Be careful.
Yep. A lot of effort here to establish characters and bring them into the story, to then send half of them off. It really goes to show that there's too many characters. I kind of assumed that this animation that you're seeing of the door opening was in the original game, but if it was added, it really is just a transition animation, and it's not that impressive.
So horrible.
We failed to tell Ace that he needs to search the body for the bracelet and search the body in general. Also, we don't know where the deactivator is, so they may get in that room and find they have 81 seconds to find the deactivator and use it, not just that it's on a wall somewhere right next to the entrance.
Snake, your shoes.
It's fine. Hurry!
Snake, being blind, highly susceptible to slipping on blood and falling down.
Or are you planning on dying with everyone else? I assume you haven't forgotten the door only remains open for 9 seconds, have you?
Sorry, Snake.
Seems like Snake is a little bit bossy to his younger sister.
Let's go.
Hey! How is it over there?
Yeah. It's probably worth the 81 seconds just to listen to the door and see
Did you find anything?
what
Say
happens.
something, will you?
Not that I think you have a choice now.
Something's beeping.
It's just like before.
Yeah.
Probably the sound of the detonator on the bracelet.
And they must all beep at the exact same time, otherwise you'd hear beep, 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 beep for each character, slightly off.
Do you think they're okay?
it would also be weird if number 9 blew up and he managed to blow up the deactivator so that they were doomed.
Hey, there it is! That's gotta be that dead thing!
Yep.
Come on, get over here! We gotta authenticate!
3, 4.
The beeping stopped.
But it seems like they kind of rushed to that point and then they maybe are already into the next room.
Looks like it stopped.
Now, it doesn't seem like you have 81 seconds in total, so I assume the next room they enter a door with a number on will give you another 81 seconds and not give you the remaining time. That would be a lot more difficult and very video gamey to have to go through multiple puzzles and know the exact solutions or you run out of time.
Hey, guys, are you doing all right over there?
Yep, we're fine. Oh, hey, I'm gonna tell you about this whole dead thing, okay?
It's weird to have Clover just talking in this muffled of audio and have it where you're just watching the door. Feels like you probably wouldn't hurt the story any if you could use the watches to talk to other people and video chat, and then the game could just pop up a screen image of her and have the audio come through clearly.
The dead is just like the red, but the color's different.
Okay.
You know how the red was red?
Alright, that seems slightly reddish.
Well, the dead is blue.
So it's red and blue. It seems to be the theme for every puzzle.
Other than that, it's just like the red.
Okay.
Authenticating is the same too.
Good to know.
Awesome.
So we're
Thanks.
not in
That
for
helps
any
a lot.
surprises.
Well, we should probably move on now.
Now would be the time to say, search the body, get the number 9 bracelet.
You be careful out there.
Roger that.
And he didn't say it.
Whew. Now it's our turn.
Alright.
I'll go first. Okay, we ready?
And you would assume you'd want everybody just standing right at the front door, ready to go forward. Of course, the big twist here is we open the door, there's a wall there, and we're doomed, or there's a giant cliff and you're doomed, or the door just doesn't open at all.
Sure.
Let's go.
See, and there you have another instance of inconsistent animation. June pops up and you see her talk, but you didn't see that for Lotus.
All right, let's go.
Yep, it feels like this game probably wanted to be a lot bigger and they just
Run!
cut a lot of things because of budget.
Oh, damn.
So it's a little skull.
It's counting down.
I don't actually see it counting down, but okay. Doesn't seem like the door actually was open for 9 seconds.
We can't go back.
We need to hurry and find the device.
Yep.
Hey, where the hell is the dead?
How would I know?
Don't give me that crap. Start looking.
I already am.
Don't tell me the dead is in one of those rooms.
Yep, seems like this is gonna be
How many rooms do you think there are?
a pain.
Ah, fuck.
Run to the end of the hall,
We just need to open them all.
looking down.
Shit, this one's no good.
Same here. It's not moving.
That makes it easier.
Oh,
Did we just lose?
there it is, at the end of the hallway. Run! Hey, how many more seconds do we have?
How would I know?
Seems like there's no real puzzle,
Seconds.
I know that, goddammit.
so it's just run to the end of the
How many
hall.
seconds we have left? Hurry!
I found it.
It's the dead! Get over here!
Of course, such a long run and pretty easy to trip and fall.
Come on, everyone.
So it seems like you do this part and then you have an escape the room section. And they're just going to have every character pant, 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 take their turn to make a panting sound.
Looks like it stopped.
Trying to raise the tension.
At the end of the hallway.
It doesn't have a number on it, so I think you're safe walking through that. Although it probably would be worthwhile to walk back down through the hallway and make sure all the doors are still locked and were locked.
Let's try this one first.
Just in case there's something else.
And of course it won't open.
This is an odd visual angle.
A keyhole.
And is that Saturn?
What's this mark? Mail?
No, not exactly. That's probably the symbol of Mars.
June's again showing knowledge of astrology.
Well, technically, they are the same symbol. But I saw a number of similar symbols near the main stairway.
Yeah, remember when that happened 2.5 hours ago?
The symbols of the solar system.
So it feels like there might be like a whole key set of different keys that you'll have to collect.
Oh, that's right. The sun, Saturn.
So here's the thought. I suppose if you were to add 8 planets in the sun, you would have 9 people. So each person might have a key on them and they might be represented by that symbol.
And Earth.
At least that's what I'm assuming.
So this isn't the man symbol. It's a symbol for Mars?
If it was astrology, though, like, it's not birth signs per se, because nobody has a sun birth sign. So it couldn't be that each person was born on a different month and that's the reason they were selected. That wouldn't make enough sense.
I think so, yes.
I see. Wait, where's Santa?
Yeah, so I looked the place over.
Being helpful, I suppose, as long as you can trust that he actually is a thorough searcher. It's kind of pointless if he just is bad at finding things and looks around the whole place and misses a whole bunch of hints.
Here's the deal. None of the other doors open.
Then that must mean...
We're doomed.
We only have 2 more doors.
That is convenient, though, because we now have a left and right door.
Maybe it's the room number.
So, if we were to look at the flow right now, we've already made that split. And so clearly we're not going to be able to see this story if we'd gone through the other door. And clearly we're going to merge back together, and then we're going to have to split again. And this split is a little bit different, and I guess you probably won't know whether you're taking the path to the right, which then leads you to an ending that is more difficult and probably the good ending, or whether you're going to end up in the path in the middle or the path on the left, which then links you back to this point and then gives you one more option to potentially end up on the right ending, which I assume is a good ending. And if you end up then on the left path, you will have one more split for 2 different endings. If you end up in the middle path, you'll have 2 more endings. And yeah, I think there's no real reason to not end this right here. We are doing like hour and 20-minute long recordings. It's quite long episodes, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Certainly when I was playing games like Skyrim, I knew that those episodes needed to be particularly long because the series was just going to take forever. Of course, I'm really just taking my time and being fairly slow on this. If this was the 100th visual novel style game that I've covered or played, I would try and barrel through this text. And in most cases, in most games, when I run into text that's not voice acted, I will just not bother to read it at all. But that's the only thing here, so of course I need to take as much time as is appropriate to actually ingest the storyline and ingest the story. It's also a little weird, we still haven't gotten a map. It feels like maybe you don't get a map until you've beaten the game the first time, and maybe the map won't be that useful. Kind of in the same way that the calculator has been pretty useless at this point at least. Maybe it will play a bigger role later on. I imagine the map, the flow, and the calculator were all added in the remastering of this game. Okay, that's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to further follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.